to 4YOU or BaptistJax.com. The North Florida TPO is dedicated to transportation planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, resilient, and connected region. More information available at northfloridatpo.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Up next, national and local news from NPR and the WJCT News team.
Good morning and welcome to First Coast Connect. I'm Ann Schindler. Today, when librarians are first responders, we preview a documentary about America's new book ban era and talk to two participants ahead of a Thursday screening of the film The Librarians here at WJCT Studios. Then, meeting young workers where they live, online. We talk to a social media specialist about helping connect jobs to people through Jack's Jobs Explained. And a chance to roll deep with the 904 Walk Club will tell you why the Wednesday meetup is about more than fresh air and exercise. Join the conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937 or head to firstcoastconnect.org, where you can find all the ways you can connect with us, and you can also sign up for our new daily newsletter. Stick around. We'll be back right after the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. An NPR investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein files finds the Justice Department has removed or withheld dozens of pages from the public database of Epstein documents. Some pages relate to accusations of sexual abuse that also contain mention of President Trump. The Justice Department prepared a slideshow last fall. It mentioned a claim that Trump sexually abused a minor around 1983. The minor was also allegedly being abused by Epstein. The allegation against Trump was sent to an FBI field office for further investigation. But NPR's Stephen Fowler reports the allegation does not show up in the new release of files.
It's more what other documents have shown us about these particular missing pages. There's records showing the FBI interviewed this accuser 4 times. Only one of those interviews is in the public Epstein database, and it does not mention Trump at all. And the Justice Department's own tracking indicates there's at least 50 pages that exist but were not made public.
NPR's Stephen Fowler reporting. President Trump has consistently said he broke ties with Jeffrey Epstein years ago over his behavior. The president will address a joint session of Congress tonight. NPR's Elena Moore reports this is his first State of the Union address since returning to the White House just over a year ago.
The State of the Union is a formality, but there are potential political stakes for Trump. His speech comes at the start of an election year where Republicans are on the defensive. They're trying to keep control of Congress, but Trump is battling low approval numbers. In the latest NPR PBS News Marist poll, a majority of Americans say Trump is moving the country in the wrong direction. Low poll numbers are often a warning sign. Since World War II, the party controlling the White House historically loses an average of 27 seats in the House and 4 in the Senate in midterm elections. Elena Moore, NPR News.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is set to meet this week with leaders of the artificial intelligence company Anthropic. There's been tension between both sides. NPR's Bobby Allen reports the Pentagon is demanding that Anthropic loosen its AI chatbot safeguards in order to remain a government contractor.
Anthropic's Claude is the only chatbot that can be used in classified settings, but the Pentagon is threatening to drop the service. And that's because Anthropic is drawing a red line. It says it will not allow its technology to be used for domestic surveillance and the deployment of autonomous lethal activities. That has irked Pentagon officials, who are demanding every leading AI lab allow their powerful tools for all lawful uses. Now, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be meeting this week to try to hash out their differences. Axios first reported the discussion. While Amodei has held the banner as the most safety-first AI lab, Trump officials have labeled Anthropic woke AI. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
On Wall Street in pre-market trading, Dow futures are higher. This is NPR.
Good morning. You're listening to WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. I'm Stephen Ponson. It's 9:04. A 49-year-old man's facing multiple charges, including murder, after police say he intentionally set fire to a home in Jacksonville's Springfield community late Friday night. The sheriff's office says Julius Lindo was arrested Sunday. He's also charged with 8 counts of attempted murder, one for each person that was inside the house at the time of the fire. Firefighters were called to a home on Iona Street late Friday, and once the fire was out, they found a 62-year-old man dead inside. A proposal in the Florida legislature would allow public employees to cash out their accrued vacation and sick time to put towards purchasing a home. Tristan Wood reports.
The program, called the Heroes Reward Program, would apply to state and local government employees. Miami Republican Senator Alexis Caladiud says her bill comes as housing costs have skyrocketed in Florida over the past 5 years. During that time, people aged 20 to 29 have left the state at a higher rate than have moved here.
Young Americans need to have continued confidence that they're doing all the right things, and they will see the fruits of those labors. And this is just a small way that we can empower and champion, I think, younger Floridians.
Caladiud has carried many affordable housing bills over the past few years, including the Live Local Act, which is working to increase housing supply in the state. Caladiud's bill allowing public workers to use their accrued time for a down payment hasn't been heard yet this session, making it unlikely to pass this year. I'm Tristan Wood.
It'll be another chilly day here in Northeast Florida, as we'll have plenty of sunshine through the day.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Lilly Endowment, a private foundation supporting NPR's coverage of religion and spirituality, and Jarl and Pamela Mohn, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
A new era of book bans with Florida leading the way. Welcome to First Coast Connect. I'm Ann Schindler. Today, a PBS documentary focusing on how media specialists became the unlikely enemy in a political fight over access to books. We meet 2 locals featured in the film, The Librarians, which screens here at WJCT Studios on Thursday night. Later in the program, forming social connections through a downtown stroll. We meet the founders of the weekly 904 Walk Club. But first, there was a time when the prevailing view of librarians was that of a gentle scold, smart, helpful, prone to shushing. But in the past few years, they've increasingly found themselves painted as the enemy as schools have become political battlegrounds. Here to discuss it, we're joined by 2 local residents featured in the PBS documentary, The Librarians. The Reverend Jeffrey Dove is a freedom to read advocate and a pastor of St. James AME Church in Orange Park. Reverend Dove, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Julie Miller, a Jacksonville librarian and also a freedom to read advocate. Julie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Julie, I wonder if you could just start by telling us why you became a librarian in the first place.
Well, I think that I've always been an avid reader. When I was a child, my parents would ban me from reading Babysitter Club books if I would, like, that would be how they would ground me. Not ban, but ground me. So they knew that that was what really got to me. I started out in education, actually, after college, teaching English in Suwannee County and Duval County. And then I ended up becoming a librarian because I saw the impact that media specialists could have in the schools on the students. And I really loved the idea of just being that safe place for students. I had taught primarily middle school, but high school was where I landed as a librarian, and it was just the right fit for me. I felt very much like I was living my purpose.
Tell us about that. I mean, what sort of impact did you feel you were having on students? What place in the world of a young student does the library serve?
Well, I think that when you think about the stereotypes of high schoolers, you kind of think that Breakfast Club vibe where you've got the jocks and the popular kids and the nerds and, the theater kids or whatever. And we saw all of those kids in the library, but beyond that, we saw the kids that didn't have that identity necessarily. They didn't have that group that they fit in with. But the library is just an open place for anyone And so students were able to come in. I had no agenda for them. Didn't have assignments to give them like their teachers. I was just there to provide a place, to provide information, to provide access to stories, and just give them a place where they could be themselves.
And it's interesting. I know there's been some research done about how children feel that the library is a safe place for them to be, whether it's a refuge from trouble that they're having in their personal lives or even from bullies. It is regarded as a safe space. It's sort of, a terrible irony that it became really a not safe space for librarians because of the work that you were doing. So tell us when you first ran into issues in terms of books being challenged in your own school library.
So I was in Clay County. I had been a media specialist there for 7 years when we got the first wind of any sort of book challenge. And a book challenge is when a person, it can be anyone in the community, but usually a parent, expresses a concern about some material that is in the library or in the curriculum. And in this case, a mom of a local school actually just put a video up on Facebook where she read a very select passage from a book from the high school libraries that she found to be inappropriate, and she tagged all of the high school's Facebooks, all their Facebook pages, and then of course the district freaked out, and this was over the summer, and the district administration actually just went in and pulled the books off the shelves without notifying anyone and deleted them from the catalog. And I just happened to be up there during the summer doing a little work, and I noticed 3 days after it had happened that this had occurred. And so then I reached out to my administration and the district media specialist about this. And that's when, I had a conversation with the higher ups about, hey, this is not how it's supposed to go. We have a policy in place when there are book challenges.
And what is the policy that was in place at the time?
So at the time, the policy was the book should remain on the shelf. The person who has an issue with it, not just a complaint, but a challenge, has to fill out a specific form that we already had in our manual. Fill out the form explaining what their issue was, where it was found, and certifying that they had read the book in full.
Why is that important?
Because context matters. When it comes to reading a book, for example, if you read some of the classics like Beloved by Toni Morrison or The Color Purple, you're going to find scenes in them that are very difficult to read, that are very trying, whether it's because of sexual assault or because of just terrible violence. But it is in there for a purpose, and it is in there for teens. That's one of the things that's important to acknowledge, is that most of the books that they are being challenged are young adult books that are found in high school libraries. Not, this is in a kindergarten classroom, the way that the misinformation online has been portraying it. And so that when it comes to context, it is extremely important. I mean, if you look at the Statue of David by Michelangelo, if you just zoom in on that one particular part, well, that could be considered pornographic. But when you zoom out, it's a piece of art.
Reverend Jeffrey Dove, I want to ask you about how you got involved. You're not a librarian. You weren't working in a school at the time that this all started to percolate up. How did you first learn about what was happening, and why did you personally decide that you wanted to take a stand on it?
Well, yeah, I wasn't looking to be in this fight. I was approached by some union members that had concern about books being removed, especially African-American books with African-American authors. and that kind of struck my interest. And so I kind of got into it. I went to the first school board meeting. I learned a lot about Moms for Liberty and their movement. And while at the meeting, the ladies from Moms for Liberty was asking that the fire of God fall on the school system. And as the man of God, I thought that was horrible. And a lot of this ideology, they try to support it with scripture and try to support it with God. And so me being the preacher, the prophet, the man of God, I think I have a responsibility to defend God on what's right. And so I just wanted to be on the right side of it when I spoke truth. And my main concern really was Julie. I knew how hard she fought about the book, man. But I had a sneaky suspicion that they were going to do something to her.
Mm.
And they did. And that hurt me. I just don't feel like you should do people like that. And so that's how I kind of got into it.
The film shows that in addition to your advocacy for Julie at school board meetings and your speaking at school board meetings, which are some of the more powerful moments in the film, certainly, you also did community outreach where you were gathering young people, talking to them about some of the books that were on this review list or ban list or however you want to reference it. But it was, many hundreds of books, certainly in Clay County, that were being targeted, complained about, and in many cases pulled from the availability for students. And so you were concerned, as you said, many of these titles were about African American history by African American authors with a focus on issues of racism or, troubling histories that were being flagged and removed from shelves. What books were you initially kind of paying attention to that were being flagged in this way and that you were showing to some of the people that you were gathering, these young people, to get their perspectives?
I think one of the books, because we had just, as a church family, read the 1619 Project together.
And remind us, for people who aren't familiar with the 1619 Project, it's a compilation that looks at slavery and its impacts continuing through the United States history.
Right. So it's just a collection of different stories about slavery. Very powerful. Oh, my God, it's powerful. And we had a conversation with the church. We had a conversation with our youth about the book, the context, the things that were in the book. And some were graphic. Some was, slavery wasn't pretty, right? And so we really took a serious stance on trying to educate our kids about slavery, the 1619 Project. There was another book. There was a young lady working for me from the University of Central Florida who didn't know that the book Hair Love that depicts African Americans in their hair. And she felt as though if she had read that book, she would have had better self-esteem coming up in school.
Hair Love is a children's book, and it is a celebration of African American hair styles, hair in history and culture, and its appreciation.
Yeah.
But that was one of the books that was flagged. Was that surprising to you?
Very. And so I had a lot of conversation. Well, not a lot of conversation, but conversation with Moms for Liberty, because I'm always trying to find. I try to listen and see where people are coming from. And their biggest thing is you can't have pornographic material in the books for kids. That's not right. But that's not all the books that they were trying to. That was just the, I guess, the scapegoat, or that was just kind of the way to open the door. And I brought that to their attention. I said, listen, no, okay, let's get off the pornographic material for a moment. And the list of the other, but they couldn't explain it.
Some of these books, Julie, included, for instance, a history of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
A lot of this reflected a list that was created by a lawmaker in Texas. It's called the Krause list. It was 850 some books that he compiled initially and flagged as problematic. And a lot of them were about the LGBTQ plus experience by authors from that community. But as we said, many of them also were just straight up histories or books about the Black experience. Mm-hmm. And so how many of those books were you starting to see highlighted when you first began dealing with this? You talked about sort of that one book that was pulled from the shelves. What happened thereafter?
After that point, I actually went to the next school board meeting and just kind of tried to provide some context for why books like this might be on the shelves. And my personal and opinion, and that's based on community standards, which is an important thing when it comes to what books we're going to be placing on shelves. I might not be placing the same books in a school library in Miami as I would in Clay County due to community standards. And so basically the series of books was A Court of Thorns and Roses, which has become very popular, like on Book Talk. And much like the Harry Potter series that started when Harry Potter was 11 and went to the time when he was 17 and they grow in maturity, this series of books did the same, but they started with a protagonist at the age of 18 or 19 and progressed further in. And at that point, it became a bit more detailed when it came to the sex scenes. And I explained we're not given all of that information, especially when it comes to sequels, about what is actually age relevant. And that's how that happens sometimes. And that while I don't think any librarian is going to say we think every book belongs in every library. We have to follow our own collection development policies. But from there, we saw. I went to that meeting and like Reverend Dove, I tried to listen and have a conversation too, because that was the first meeting where our local book banner first came on the scene.
And this is a gentleman who has challenged hundreds of books and is the reason that Clay County leads the state, and really Florida leads the nation in terms of book ban challenges.
Yes, I don't know the exact percentage, but he is responsible for over 90% of the book challenges in Clay County. And at one point, I think there were 11 people across the state who were responsible for 97% of the book challenges across the state. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing a very loud minority here.
And you spoke to him?
I did. After the meeting, I spent about 45 minutes speaking with him outside. I found out that that a young man in his life was going to be attending my school because they had just moved to the area from New York. And I gave him my school email address. I said, you don't have to go to the school board about this sort of thing. You can reach out directly to your media specialist if you have a concern about a specific title, because that's the way it's always been. Parental rights has been a big rallying cry over the past few years when it comes to all of this. But the thing is, we've never not had parental rights. Librarians will tell you, we've always had that open door. If you got an issue with a book that your child has read or is being asked to read in the curriculum, please reach out and let us know, and let's have that conversation. But conversations were not on the agenda for him. And in fact, he did an interview shortly after that, which he emailed to me, where he talked specifically about me and what I had said in the school board meeting, and said he wasn't ready to get the gallows out yet to see me swing. He just didn't want me to put books in the library without having read them first anymore.
We are getting a couple of calls, and I want to get to them. But if you're just joining us, we are talking to librarian Julie Miller and the Reverend Jeffrey Dove. They're both featured in the new film, The Librarians, which screens here at WJCT Studios on Thursday night. You can join our conversation on air by calling 904-549-2937. You can also go to firstcoastconnect.org to find all the ways that you can connect with us, including on social. We have a call from William in Arlington. Good morning, William. Go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I already raised my children there in Clay County. I was fortunate enough, or misfortunate enough, but depending on how you look at it, that I put them through private Catholic school. But I guess my comment is that I don't understand if there is an opt-out law here in Florida where you can opt your kids out from having to read any material. I don't understand what is the whole issue about banning books. Anybody that listens or reads or understands history or human nature understands that the more you ban something, the more it's going to get read. My kids, when they were in school, the Golden Compass was a book that was tried to be banned in the school that we were in. And the first thing I did was went and bought the book and gave it to my kids and gave it as an assignment. So I don't understand, if I'm not tying your kid to a chair and making him read anything, I don't understand what gives a right of those that don't want to read the book to make it so that other people can't read the book. We live in a free country, and I think that we should keep it that way. And that was my comment. Thank you for listening.
William, thanks so much. Julie, I mean, can you explain the opt-out option? That is certainly something that is available, but it now has sort of flipped, right? It's become an opt-in in many cases.
Yes, certainly we've always had it where if a parent did not want their student to, let's say in 11th grade, the Crucible is part of the curriculum. And I would say that junior teachers will tell you that, English teachers will tell you that there's always a few students, maybe one a year, who says, my parents don't want me to read this.
Is there a reason on that one?
Witchcraft, usually.
Okay, gotcha.
And so that's fine. And teachers are used to being able to provide an alternative assignment. Now, that's when we're talking about curriculum, where it's a captive audience. But we've got people reaching beyond that and saying, I don't want this available to anyone, which is, in my opinion, that's just like if I were to say, well, I don't like SpongeBob, and I don't think that my kids should be able to watch SpongeBob. So I'm going to contact Nickelodeon and YouTube and tell them to take all the SpongeBob off the air. Well, that sounds ridiculous, right? You monitor your own child's media input. And that's really what this is about. And what William had to say about it being a free country, absolutely, I agree. No one is bringing students into libraries and telling them you must check out and read this book. Libraries are open, free to choose what you would like. If this book isn't for you, I've got 20,000 other. And so choice has been a really important thing that's been missed in the conversation.
One of the things that this film, The Librarians, captures is just how heated and difficult some of this became, particularly at school board meetings. And I think we've all seen some of that happening, how contentious these meetings became. I want to play just a little bit from the film. It puts together some sound bites, both from the librarians and the people that are interviewed in this story, as well as some of the meetings that they were attending at the time. Let's take a listen and a look.
We were afraid. We were told not to tweet. We were told not to put things on Facebook.
They came after me, and they came after our library. They came after our library board.
We were called evil specialist instead of media specialist.
I know they're going to fire me. I know they're making a case to fire me. I know it's coming, but I'm not going to shut up. I'm just not going to do it.
You continue to speak out, you will be on the chopping block. You will lose your job. We have guns. When can we start killing liberals? When could they start hunting us?
Hold the line against the LGBT mafia and their dang pedo fans.
We had to bring in law enforcement to meetings.
This white truck pulled up behind us, and the guy rolled down his window and he yelled at me. He said, "We're coming after you next."
We're gonna keep coming so hard. The only thing these woketards are gonna have to figure out is whether it's on their face, backbone, or thighs. Woo!
So, Julie, this became a safety issue for a lot of people involved in this. School board members were asking for security escorts to and from their cars. People were being ejected from meetings for making threats. Some people were coming with weapons to these meetings and also making threats. Did you ever feel that your personal safety was at risk?
I did. At some points, when the article that the gentleman sent to me came out, it was very shocking. I remember sitting on my couch and just in shock, starting to cry, and my husband saying, "What is wrong?" And I just held up my phone to him and gave it to him to read. And
remind us what it said.
The gallows remark about, not ready to see her swing just yet.
Didn't he also say something about running?
He did later in another article, yes. About 6 months after that, in another article, he spoke to the reporter saying that he was going to clean out the Clay County school libraries, and anyone who got in his way, he would run over them like a dead body. Which, what does that even mean? I'm not sure who's running over dead bodies, but just very triggering language. I do believe that he was very careful in his harassment to make sure that it could not be seen as a direct threat. I was actually speaking in Tallahassee later that year with another group of school librarians, talking to legislators about some of the laws that were on the books, the different bills that were being passed at the time, and urging them not to go with the language that currently was there because of how restrictive it was going to be and how devastating to school libraries that these bills would be. And I told them about what was happening in Clay County, and it was actually Representative Sam Garrison who said, "You need to talk to the sheriff." And it turned out Sheriff Michelle Cook was there that day too. And so I told her about what was going on, and she gave me her card and sent sergeants out to my house. And they sat with me and my husband, and we explained everything that was going on, and I showed them the emails and the challenge forms where he's writing my name on them. And they said, "Well, nothing here is a direct threat. There's nothing here that we can really do about it. So if he starts showing up around your house, then give us a call." And that was it. And I have 2 young children at home too. So some of the other librarians in the film faced much, much worse harassment and threats than I did. Just horrific, and are still being doxxed and still being harassed to this day. But thankfully they didn't have young children at home, and so I think I had to do a lot more to kind of be protective of my family, and wasn't able to be as outspoken as some of the others were. But yeah, it has not been fun, certainly, and it definitely had a detrimental effect on my health and my mental health.
Reverend Dove, when did you learn that Julie's job was in jeopardy, or did you learn that after the fact?
Yeah, I learned it after the fact. I'm getting kind of emotional. Yeah, I learned it after the fact. I asked someone about Julie, and they had said that she had been terminated. And so I went to a workshop, and I was sat there for about 3 hours. I sat there all morning.
A school board workshop.
Yeah, because I wanted them to hear from me about that. I could see it coming, but I think it was important for me to support her because I knew that this book banning can get out of control. And so I just wanted to be there to support her and let the powers to be know that she is being supported. I've had some comments said to me about my stance in the book, and actually we're doing a viewing on Sunday, and I requested that security be there. I'm gonna just tell you, ma'am, Clay County is one of the racist counties I've ever been in my life. And not fearful, but I'm very conscious of violence or trying to do something to myself or to Julia or anybody connected with the book banning.
You've also felt unsafe in your community because of this.
Yeah. I think that's it's part of being the man of God. I don't fear anybody. I'm not afraid of the good old boys. I'm not. But so that's why it was important for me to look them in their face and let them know that I'm supporting her. That was important to me. And so all of the librarians in the film, man, those are some courageous women. Good Google and move. I mean, they are really just. I mean, I think somebody said they were superheroes in a different kind of way. And I think that we have to support the superheroes in the capacity that we operate in. So.
Certainly, this film, Julie, does celebrate the extraordinary courage, and these are people who were having threats openly made to them, people who were being doxxed, people were having people, show up and intimidate them physically and in person. And there are librarians in this story that say that their lives have been destroyed. One woman who comes from a very conservative background, as do you, a very religious background, as do you, saying that she can no longer go out in her own community because she has been labeled a pedophile and a groomer, and she has been threatened and followed, and she now arms herself driving around her own hometown that she grew up in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Amanda Jones in Louisiana, and she's one of my heroes. I'm grateful to also call her a friend. She's actually the person who put me in touch with the documentary makers. So she's the reason that I was asked to be in the film, was because she knew me and knew of what was going on with me. And she's just a legend. She's fearless. But I will tell you, like, behind the scenes, she has a lot of struggles with it. I mean, it doesn't stop. They continue. She's in legal battles now about this kind of thing. And it's heartbreaking to see what someone could do to such an honestly wonderful person. She was raised in the church. She still goes to church. She loves God. She doesn't make that hidden in any way. And she cares about the kids in her community. And I think that's the story that you'll see with any of us in this film. And there were so many more not featured in the film who have similar stories. Reverend Dove said when I was terminated, I wasn't technically terminated, I was reclassified, basically taken out of my library job after 9 years of highly effective evaluations, and told you're going to teach this class in a course you've never taught before and have no experience. So it was a quiet firing, essentially. Thankfully, I have landed in another library job where I do feel supported, but I every day miss my high schoolers. It certainly derailed my career because I was, like I said, I was living my purpose. I was just there's a statistic that says that for students, especially students who are LGBTQ+, if they have one safe adult in their life, it greatly reduces their chance of taking their own life. And I feel like I was that safe adult for a lot of students. And I don't know who they have now.
The film is called The Librarians. It screens Thursday here at WJCT Studios. There will be a panel discussion featuring my two guests. I'll be moderating that discussion. It will include an audience Q&A. Tickets are free, but you do need to register. You can go to wjct.org/events. There'll be a lot more to talk about after we viewed the film collectively. But thank you so much for being here, Julie Miller, the Reverend Jeffrey Dove. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Up next, meeting young workers where they live online. Welcome back. Well, landing a job can be difficult in a tight job market, can be more difficult if you don't know the job exists in the first place. Here to tell us about WJCT's public media's role in a nationwide initiative to connect kids to jobs, we are joined by Jobs Explained social video specialist Jordan Luckin. Good morning, Jordan.
Morning, Ann.
We're also joined by Dr. Stephanie Murray, WJCT's Director of Education. Stephanie, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Tell us, first of all, about this Jobs Explained initiative. What is it? How did WJCT get involved? Because it's a nationwide effort.
It's a nationwide effort. So this is the second round. Before we came on, they did a pilot study in stations across the country, and then they saw the success, and they said, let's expand it. So we were one of 10 communities selected across the nation. It was a competitive grant process, so we were very thrilled when we got it, and I thought, this is something so important for us in Jacksonville. So we're really excited to be part of it. It's one of 10 across the country. And really the goal is to reach youth where they are. So we know that they're on social media. We also know that they need to learn about future careers. So how can we bridge that gap and be that community connector? So finding them on social media platforms and sharing this valuable information.
Explain to us why WJCT is involved at all. I mean, we think people listening to the radio might be like, you're a radio station, or if they're, a fan of PBS, but what is our role that would in any way involve us in people trying to find jobs or education more broadly?
Yeah, I think a lot of studies recently have shown the connection between education in general and starting young. So a lot of what we traditionally do looks at the younger kids, right? PBS, they know us for our young programs. But people are starting to realize, like, hey, what we teach in those young ages matters. And they're starting to look at the return on investment from young age to then the careers. And so they're starting to say, well, let's focus some of our PBS Kids properties on that world of work. So a lot of the series kind of showcases different careers and those really important job skills at the young age. And so we said, this is a great bridge, right? So we have them when they're young on PBS Kids. Let's continue that to the platform that they're using and reach them at the social media level once they've kind of graduated from our traditional PBS Kids properties.
Jordan, I love following you on Instagram. Your Jack's Jobs Explained is so fun to watch, and we'll show a little bit. Let's just take a listen, and then we'll kind of watch some of it.
So I'm going to tell you how to make six figures and to love what you do in under 30 seconds. Start the timer. Okay, so the secret is to become a pharmacist. It's a clean, structured work environment with no exposure to bodily fluids, and you don't have to work in a hospital. So what you're going to do is complete pharmacy prereq.
So you do these on a regular basis. You post them, I think, on TikTok as well.
I do TikTok and Instagram.
Okay. I'm not a TikToker, but the Instagram stuff is awesome. And I don't know if you sort of naturally come to this, if it's something you were trained to do, but you are focused in this, in trying to not only reach young people, but also give them a little tutorial on jobs that are available particular to this region. How did the team decide on what some of those career fields are?
So we, Stephanie looked at a bunch of data in Jacksonville and Florida, and then we narrowed it down to industries that are severely lacking in employment. And so we're kind of showcasing that to up the employment numbers in Jacksonville.
And those are fields that are, I mean, we know this is kind of a logistics hub.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of IT, and the clip we just saw is like pharmacist. And there's also a lot of technical jobs too that are out
and
there.
Healthcare.
And healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's another big focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you're making them, some of this is a good job you should know about. This is a possible career field that you could explore, but you're also offering tips for people who just are entering the workforce. Like, how do you dress?
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with imposter syndrome? How do you come up with those topics when you're thinking about what to communicate with your audience?
So I look back to when I was the age of the target demographic, which is like 16 to 24. And it's just everything I wish I knew because I feel like I didn't have a good grasp on anything. And I already lived on social media, but there was never an influencer that was like talking about these actual useful things. So I'm trying to be that person that can like inform, but also keep it fun and just go over what I wish I had known at that age.
And is that like a conversation you're having with people online? Do they respond? Do they send questions to you? Are you kind of in real time taking in their interests?
Yeah, I get a lot of comments that are like, wow, I wish I knew about this career. Like, I'm so happy I'm like looking into this now. And then just overall with like the resume and the outfits things, yeah, I get a lot of DMs that are like, thank you so much for this video. Like, I have an interview next week and I had no idea what to wear for it.
Yeah, it is. It's funny how much you don't know when you're starting out
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of a career. Stephanie, as we said, this is sort of one facet of the work that WJCT Public Media does on the education front. One of the things is like a touchstone I think we communicate with the community on is the Be My Neighbor Day, which is coming up, and that has an educational component. Will you just sort of give us a little thumbnail of what that's going to entail this year?
Absolutely. So we're excited. This is our annual event that takes place here at the station. It's going to be coming up April 11th. So it's open to all members of the community. And we want to be that community connector. So we invite a bunch of nonprofits, a bunch of organizations across the city to come and represent what they have to offer for families. In addition to that, families can, there's craft activity stations, there's reading corners. So we're really trying to bolster that education component within the day. So it's a really great full day. It takes place all across, and everyone loves Daniel Tiger, so it's fun to kind of meet those characters in that environment, at the station.
Yeah, there's the characters, and we also have a ton of kids kind of running in through our studio here, getting on the mic, putting on the headphones, sort of trying out the chair to see what it feels like.
Well, that's kind of, it goes back to that career development, right? Because they see these things and it's like, well, where do you start to get there? So giving them that opportunity to say, here's an actual career path. Here's all the people that go beyond just who you hear, but
they're coming from my job.
Right.
Jordan,
they are.
There is also an event for high schoolers that's upcoming. I just want to briefly mention that's in March. Is that right? For high schoolers, something that's coming up on March 25th at 11 o'clock. And I guess that's a chance to meet with professionals. Do some career.
Yeah. So we, as part of the project, we're hosting 2 career fairs. The first one's coming up in March, but again, as a way to showcase not only online, but in person, so students can come and understand different careers throughout the city, and they can come right to our station to do that.
All right. And I haven't really gotten to it, but we do also this annual writers event for kids which is super sweet. And all of those are posted on our website, all of the Kids Writer Contest entries. So that's also another awesome educational thing that we do. Thank you for the work that you guys do. I'm excited to talk to you about it. Jordan, tell people your handle on Insta and TikTok.
It's the same on both. It's at jacksjobs_explained.
All right. Dr. Stephanie McMurray, Jordan Luckin, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Up next, take a hike and make some friends. We meet the founders of the 904 Walk Club.
The Cummer Museum of Art and Gardens presents Art in Bloom, uniting nature and creativity with flowers made of glass, ceramics, paper, wood, and even Lego. On display through September 13th. More information available at cummermuseum.org. Terrell Hogan Law.
I'm Wayne Hogan. Accidents can happen when you least expect it. For decades, our attorneys have dug out the facts to help juries decide who's at fault.
More at terrellhoganlaw.com. Here Tomorrow provides no-cost, no-wait suicide prevention services in our community. The nonprofit will host its 5-year celebration, A Night of Promise, on March 21st. Tickets and information available at heretomorrow.org. Florida Theater presents Celtic Woman. The 4 Irish vocalists will perform classic and modern songs accompanied by dancers and an ensemble featuring traditional Celtic instruments. Sunday, March 29th at 7 p.m. Tickets and information available at floridatheater.com.
President Trump promised to lower costs, crack down on illegal immigration, and usher in a new golden age. But after a full year back in office, he's preparing to deliver the State of the Union address with his lowest approval rating this term. I'm Tamara Keith. We'll bring you his speech and the Democratic response. Join us for live special coverage and analysis from NPR News.
Tonight at 9 on WJCT News 89.9.
The Department of Homeland Security called it the largest immigration operation ever. Now that thousands of federal agents are leaving, how is Minnesota faring? We check in with the neighbors, school leaders, and small business owners keeping Minnesota running through ISIS operation. That's next time on 1A.
Today starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, if you've been downtown on a random Wednesday night lately and noticed a bunch of people, maybe a few hundred just walking about, you may have been catching a little bit of the 904 Walk Club. This friendly bunch meets for a weekly chat and effort to build their health and socialize with one another. Here to tell us about it, we are joined by the 2 founders, Troy and Hakeem Danner and Troy Bouchard. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So first of all, I don't know who started walking first, which one of you started doing this, and what made you decide you wanted to invite others to join you?
I'd say we both used to walk together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Us and a couple group of friends would go. And a lot of times, a lot of people couldn't make the walk, so it'd be just me and him. And we kept going over the bridges, looking at the beautiful views, and said, you know what, a lot more people would really enjoy this.
What drew you to walking in the first place?
So we actually both were probably overweight by almost 50 pounds at one point. And we constantly were just working on our health and all that the last couple of years. And it's just been nothing but a positive experience ever since. So we really want to share that with everybody.
Wow. I mean, both of you look extraordinarily healthy for people who are not watching our live stream. So I would guess that that's had some really beneficial effects. But part of it is not just the walking, right, Hakeem? It's the social element.
Right, correct. So walking was the start, and then being with the other people is what keeps us driving to keep walking. So the social interaction, seeing the sights out in town and what the city has to offer really motivates us to keep going.
People do not think of Jacksonville as the most walkable city. It's often dinged for that fact. But I think you have found, as you've been doing these organized walks, that there really are some beautiful paths that not only offer an opportunity to explore the city, but to do so safely. And so tell us a little bit about how you choose a path, where you are walking, where you're meeting, how long the walks are.
So I chose the walks based off how much physical activity, and I was really trying to compound how to lose extra weight. So I chose Riverside because one, it's a good medium place for us to go meet Central inside the city. Then the bridges are on an incline, so it just compounds that burning the calories, right?
Yeah, and there is, I think often, we're watching right now, for people who are able to watch our live stream, some video that you guys have shot at these recent walks, and there really are hundreds of people, particularly at this walk that was a couple weeks ago. So what is it that that people are getting out of it that come week after week? What's the draw?
Well, I know a lot of people tell us they look forward to it every week, and a lot of people make new friends. They get the exercise they in, as well as physical and mental health are completely correlated. So I think it's a good refresh to get you through the rest of the week. So I think a walk on Wednesday really helps out a lot of people in the city.
Kind of a midweek walk that you meet up possibly at Riverside, but you've had walks out at the beach. You've had walks that start at Friendship Fountain. Very often they're just kind of a mix.
We usually pick a spot based on like weather and all that. If it's like a beautiful day for a beach walk, we used to do those, but not as many people come because it's a little more, not central.
Yeah.
A little farther drive for a lot of people because we have people coming from the north side, the west side, south side.
Are open to anyone? Are they kid friendly as well? It looks like they're pretty much accessible. I mean, that you work to make them accessible even for people who might be differently abled.
Oh yeah, this is a club for everybody and anybody. So we encourage family, friends, even pets to come and join us.
Strollers, wheelchairs, okay.
Strollers, yeah. Whatever you got. We've had people come in walkers, so it's really for everybody.
It sounds like you guys have also done some special events like looped in with the walk. Tell us about that. I think you did like a trash cleanup and maybe a costume walk.
Yep, we had a Halloween walk where we all dressed up for Halloween, and then every once in a while we'll do like beach cleanups, Riverside cleanups. We walk around these spots all the time, so we see any trash and all that. So a lot of people always look and go, oh, you know what? Let's clean that up one day. And then we decide, that day's got to come, and we made it and did it.
So your next walk is tomorrow, and I guess these go off pretty much weather permitting, right? I mean, as long as it's not a downpour, or do you do it rain or shine?
To be honest, I do it rain or shine. So I'll be out there even if it's raining. As long as it's not lightning, I'll just try to encourage everybody to let them know, like, even though the weather's not the most ideal, you can still get out there and get it done. So.
Are you like a measure your steps guy?
Oh, yeah. I try to get at least 10,000 steps in a day. If I can, ideally, I try to get around 20,000.
How about you, Troy?
Oh, yeah. 10,000 steps a day is the motto we live by.
All right. So tomorrow's walk meets at Friendship Fountain, and I guess you meet sort of at the flagpole. That's at 6:30, and then you actually get hoofing around at 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. You can follow the Walk Club at 904 Walk Club. Troy Busher and Hakeem Danner, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Happy
Thanks for having
walking.
us. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. And that's our program. Thank you for listening. You can find all our past and current shows at firstcoastconnect.org. If you missed anything, you can also find an opportunity to sign up for the First Coast Connect newsletter, which gives you a sneak peek at upcoming guests and a chance to submit questions in advance. First Coast Connect is produced by Stacey Bennett, and our associate producer is Isabella Casapow. Our show is directed by Brady Coram, and our theme music is performed by Club de Belugas. Join us tomorrow when we talk to the author of The Pain Brokers about the legal scam that lured thousands of women into unnecessary and experimental surgeries. I'm Ann Schindler. You've been listening to First Coast Connect on WJCT News 89.9.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
The North Florida TPO is committed to shaping our transportation future. We're focused on planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, connected community. Learn more at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. The Players' Championship returns to TPC Sawgrass March 10th through 15th. Watch the PGA Tour's top players and enjoy local bites at the stadium course in Ponte Vedra Beach. More info and tickets available at theplayers.com.
This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. Up next, national and local news from NPR and